Hello and welcome to Whimsically Wicked. My name is Haylee and I am the whimsical half.
And my name is Daria, and I am the Wicked Half. This episode's going to be really hard to keep ourselves together for because Haley thought she was innocently giving me this cute little book that is in a universe we both love with characters we both love, and then I decided to ruin it all for her.
This episode of Get Swapped has taken a turn for the better or worse. I don't know which one. In order to do this, I have poured myself a very generous glass of wine to be able to talk about this.
Yeah, and for any moderators in the world, grape juice slash we are over the age of 18 in Alberta. Sorry for the Americans, but yeah, the drinking age here is 18.
So let's just start with I recommended you The Red Scrolls of Magic, which, for those of you who don't know, this is in the Mortal Instruments universe. And the Mortal Instruments is. Okay. The Mortal Instruments is one of my favorite series that got me into fantasy in my teenage years. And Cassandra Clare has created this whole universe. Have you only read The Mortal Instruments, though?
I've read The Mortal Instruments, I've read Clockwork Angel,
Okay.
and I've read Lady Midnight. I
Okay.
haven't read the rest of the books in that series though.
Okay. So I've read basically everything that this universe has put out, minus like maybe one or two of them. But I don't know, I adored this universe and the magic and the like shadow hunters versus the angels and like all of that stuff I really, really liked. And that was my first experience with a ton of world building, maybe other than Harry Potter. So I loved this series as a kid, and now I'm struggling with it because of you.
Yeah.
So
We were very different children.
when I gave this to Daria for Get Swapped, I was like, we're doing it for Pride Month because Alec and Magnus are two of our favorite characters ever.
Yes, they are. I think, well, one, they were definitely my first introduction to a gay couple in literature,
Cute.
for sure. I love them.
Me
They
too,
are,
actually. Yeah, probably one of the first.
yeah, like I can't think of anyone else from that time period,
No.
especially in those books and that, like the when the vampire and the angels and the demons and like all of that stuff was really taking off. I don't think there were any other books that had queer characters.
No, especially in the fantasy genre because I read Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and Percy
Yeah,
Jackson, and those are the things that got me into it. And I don't think, at least in the original series or the big series that Percy Jackson had, I don't think any of those had a ton of queer representation. At least I don't remember them. So
yeah, me
it
neither.
wasn't notable.
But Magnus and Alec will stick with me to the day I die.
Oh, they're so good. And they have this duology that you hadn't read before. So I wanted to recommend it to you so you could experience more Alec and Magnus. Ugh.
I was like, cool, I'm so excited. I and then I remembered back from like my Tumblr Wattpad, I think I was like 14 or 15 when these came out. Era of like, this is based on a fanfic, right?
And I said, no.
And I couldn't remember exactly what the fanfic was.
Well, you remembered that it was Harry Potter
Yeah.
fan fiction. And so I was like, oh, that's so interesting. Like, I've read Harry Potter fan fiction. I enjoy Hermione fan fiction, like Manacled. There's a few others that I've read, and I really enjoy like the Draco and Hermione situation. So my mind immediately went to, oh, is it Hermione? Because that's also the most popular. And then I don't know, maybe you Googled it or maybe
No,
you just
you Googled
remembered
it.
it.
I was like, I can't remember which couple it is. And then I was like, I'm pretty sure it's like Ginny or someone. Like it wasn't Hermione. I knew that much. And then you Googled it, and the look on your face will be seared into my brain forever because it was priceless.
And so we kind of like landed on needing to read it, but I can't even say it. Like,
I say for you, I read not this kind of dark romance, that's for fucking sure, but I read enough that I can say this out loud. The original piece of literature titled With the Mortal Instruments was a Ginny and Ron fanfic. And granted, like, does it have anything to do with the TV series and the books and all of that in this universe? We're going to talk about that and see where the overlap was, because oh boy, did we read that night. And it took us, it's like a 19-page fanfic, and I think it took me an hour and a half to read. I had to call my mom at one point. I was like, Mom, I can't, something's wrong with the universe right now. I feel physically ill.
19 pages was too long. It was
We kept texting each other. We're like, "How far are you?" And I'm like, "This just happened." And Haley was like a little bit ahead of me because I had called my mom to be like, "Mom,
Mom, I need help.
I'm uncomfortable. Help me." I'm 30 years old, and I definitely called my mom to be like, "It's 11 o'clock at night, and I don't feel good."
Yeah, I was physically unwell.
Yeah. And I've read some deranged shit, but I've never read anything that cut that deep from my childhood and then was there on a page and then was interlinked with a series that I love so much. So this episode of Get Swapped will not only dive into the beautiful relationship that is Magnus and Alec and everything that is them, it'll also dive into the TV show for the Mortal Instruments, which I freaking love. Also dive into the fanfic that potentially spawned all of this in some way, shape, or form.
We're not promoting this well so far.
I know. This is going to be a wild ride. I highly recommend sticking around because I spiraled so hard with Google while reading this fanfic. That's the other reason it took me like an hour and a half to read it, was I kept stopping to figure out like dates and ages and times and timelines and like who was where when. It was wild.
You are so much stronger than me because the whole time I was just like, I need to get through it because I can't. It was like, it was so gross, man. When we found out what this fan fiction was, you were like, that's why Clary's hair was red. And I was like, I don't even like Clary, but you just ruined her for me.
Every time I watch the show now, it's there. I can't unsee it.
Okay, well, let's just make this the young adult fantasy that this was supposed to be about for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the nice gay couple that we love.
Absolutely.
And the young adult fantasy that this was supposed to be about. The goal of this Get Swapped, let me just start out with that, was to get Daria back into some young adult fantasy, some innocent fade to black situations. They're so cute. And I just don't like where it went, but we're going to talk about that first. So Magnus and Alec, what did you think about the Red Scrolls of Magic? This book is set in between book 2, which is City of Ashes, and book 3, which is City of Glass. What did you think?
I loved it. I had a great time. I have both books because they have a duology, and I only finished the first one.
The second book, though, is after all of them. So they're split up in timelines.
Which I'm really excited for that part. So Haley, I was like, I'm keeping the second book because I'm actually, like, I'm most definitely going to read this in the near future. Physical books are hard when you've read on a Kindle for the past 10 years.
I've been the same way. I can't read a physical book right now. I am addicted to my Kindle lately.
There's a lot of books behind this, like a lot. Everything on that side, I've actually read those books in book form, except for the Star Wars ones. Everything on this side, these are trophies. And everything new that gets added to that, also trophies.
I actually have a deal with somebody right now to get rid of some books. And I had the same conversation. They were like, what do you need them all for? And I was like, they're my book trophies. And now we have a deal that I have to get rid of some of the books because I haven't even read all the books on my shelf. They're just there.
Okay, in my defense, I've read 98% of these books. There's a couple on this side I haven't read yet, and then everything on that side I've actually read.
That's actually really impressive. I'm just like a book goblin. I just buy books and I'm like, I'll read them someday, and then I never read them because other things take priority. I'm doing a lot better at it lately, though.
Like, I know there's a whole consumerism thing with it. I like supporting these authors, though. Like,
yeah,
a lot of these books, especially in the dark romance area, I own the Kindle versions, the audiobooks, and the physical copies because I love them, and I think the authors deserve to be compensated for that in any way, shape, or form I can.
Yeah, I've been trying to be a lot better at that, too. So, for example, with the Brandon Sanderson series that I'm just annihilating right now, those are the books that I'll buy, but I won't just like go to the bookstore and buy books randomly. I used to be really bad for that. I'm trying to be better at it.
Yeah, and then everything I do buy, I've read already via Kindle or audio, and I've enjoyed the book enough to add it to the trophy shelf.
Yeah.
/ support that author in multiple medias.
That's how I would like to be moving forward. So I think my next step is clearing out everything that I'm not going to read or that I don't like, that's not serving me anymore. We're going to clear it all out, and then I'm going to win the bet that I have. And then we're going to go from there.
Nice. I'm a big fan of supporting authors, so they get all my money.
Anyways, back to topic. What did you think of our Schools of Magic?
It was cute. I really liked it. I like the way the story was told. You 100% have to have read City of Glass and all the other Mortal Instruments.
Yeah, it's definitely not a standalone.
Like, this is, you're diving in, and they're not explaining like who people are or why they matter in any way, shape, or form. Like, you already have to know that. Which, luckily, I watch that TV show often enough that it sparks my memory of what actually happened in those books, so I can follow it. But I would not recommend these if you are not someone who's read the Mortal Instruments before, because it's going to be really confusing.
Yes. So for context, Cassandra Clare was trying to fill a hole after the second book where Magnus and Alec took a trip to Paris, and it was one of their first like couple vacations away that they took, and she didn't really explore that in the main series because that it wasn't their series. And she said, I have this hole in my plot where maybe some shit happened in Paris. And let me tell you, some shit happened in Paris.
Yeah, Paris, Venice, Rome. They were all over the place in Europe. I was kind of jealous.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not allowed to be jealous enough to book a European vacation this year. Even though it was originally on the docket, we have shifted to buying a house.
Mine's shifting too. I might end up in Fiji.
It's okay, I bought tickets to go to Nashville in October.
I can't believe you were trying to decide between New York City and Nashville, though. Nashville is definitely the place to be.
That's kind of where I landed, too. I haven't been to Nashville before, and I like live music a lot. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm going. I bought concert tickets in Nashville to follow a band that I found on TikTok 3 years ago. And I was like, cool, your tickets are $50 Canadian. I'm going to go there and watch that.
Yep.
And then pay $2,000 for, like, food and accommodations and a flight. Would I buy $300 concert ticket for a mainstream band I love in Edmonton? Absolutely not. That's too much money.
I really want to go to Nashville. That sounds like a lot of fun. I love New York, but if you're going for a concert, go to Nashville. That's the place for music.
Yeah. I also was like a solo vacation. I'm going by myself, and I like to explore and do things, and I feel like Nashville is more conducive to me being by myself and sitting in like a cute bar, coffee shop, finding other concerts than New York is.
Yeah, New York is like if you want to go to Broadway, New York's just different.
Yeah. I also, we're trying to do this on a budget of some kind, and Nashville's a little cheaper.
Europe definitely wouldn't have been that. It's been a while since I've read these books, but I do remember they had a lot of their, like, markets and stuff that they'd have to go to, didn't they?
They went to one shadow market in Paris.
I love those shadow markets in this world.
Really hated the shadow
hunters, yeah.
Which, like, fair.
That is my favorite part of Magnus and Alec's relationship because he is this like prissy proper boy who always followed the rules, and then Magnus has lived hundreds of years and he's seen the darkest parts, and he is a warlock, so the Shadowhunters have hated him in the past, but they also use the warlocks in this world, right? Because Shadowhunters always need warlocks. And so they employ them, but they're also a little bit discriminatory to them. Mm-hmm. So, like, Magnus has seen some shit. He has some resentment towards the Shadowhunters. And Alec is just this, like, innocent boy, walks through these shadow markets, so uncomfortable. And he just gets so weird about it. And I just love the contrast between the two.
I think, and you're going to hate this so much, it's the contrast you get in the cute ones, like, fucking Nico and Bran, where you've got the one guy who's like a little unhinged, a little like more in tune with themselves and whatever, and then you got uptight prissy boy Bran. She's all stoic and real awkward in all those social situations.
What I hate about it is that I'm still so defensive about it.
What? God of Fury? I know.
No, I didn't like it that much. I liked talking to you about it. I still don't like romance that much.
As we talk about Magnus and Alec.
I like Magnus and Alec, but that's it, I promise.
I think one of the most surreal parts of reading this too, and I fessed up to this on my TikTok, I like a lot of background noise when I read. I like chaos. I don't know what else to tell the world. So I had the TV show playing at the same
Mhm.
time I read this book.
Which, can we talk about that for a second? Because you can literally listen to anything while you're reading.
Yeah, I have a whole book, like book talk or like book vibes playlist I play when I read, especially like dark romances. Trust me, I've been tempted to listen to books while reading books before because I'm raising my brain. Like, I understand no one can multitask and do it well, but I can multitask and do it subpar decently.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I listen to like music with proper lyrics and stuff. I watched like TV shows. I hockey games usually playing in the background.
I've done that before. I think it's depending for me, and this is maybe a little bit too on the types of books that we read. If you're reading something that's like mindless or even young adult fantasy, because I've read those before too, and I'm like, I can do other stuff while I'm listening to this. I get frustrated if I'm listening or reading a high fantasy that's like super intricate or something. So maybe it's also a difference in that. But when you set the scene for reading, I love that you had the TV show on in the back
Yeah,
because you've also seen it so many times. We watch this show.
it'll be the background noise when we hang out.
Mm-hmm. And the show was so good.
This show is so good. But it was wild because I guess we looked at the timeline for this, and the TV show and this book came out at different times. So the TV show ended before this book was released.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming Cassandra Clare advised on the TV show a decent amount because I just, within 5 minutes of reading about Magnus telling one of his stories, it literally happened on the TV
Right.
in a very different context, in a very different place, but same core story.
Which is so interesting because the TV show was based on the original series. So that scene was not in the original series, I don't think.
No, it wasn't.
Original movie was atrocious. It is
So bad.
just as bad, if not worse, as the Percy Jackson situation because they tried with that movie too and absolutely
Butchered
sucked.
it. As far as movie adaptations of books go, I'm City of Glass is one of my, or City of Bones is my least favorite. Mortal Instruments, whatever the fuck they called it.
I think they called it City of Bones because they were thinking that they were going to continue.
Yeah.
They were like, this is movie 1, there's going to be 5 of them, just so you know.
Yeah, and it was not good. I stand by though, Simon from the movies, best Simon.
Simon was a lot better in the movies than he was in the TV show because he was so much dorkier and he really played into who Simon was, whereas in the TV show, he was just a little bit too attractive.
Yeah, and I needed him to be socially awkward and a little bit fumbly and a little less like sure of himself. And you can tell the actor for Simon in the TV show was like trying to do that, but that dude was just too good looking to successfully be like so nerdy.
Exactly. He just like wasn't. He literally just threw glasses on and then everybody was like, no.
No. Granted, I've seen the actor from the movie and a lot of other things too, because I'm a really big fan of British TV, and he's really talented, like very talented.
Interesting.
So I think he was just also a better actor. Which again, the TV show, I'm not about to stand on a pedestal and talk about their acting ability because it is non-existent.
No.
Like there's none. The first season is so hard to get through because they suck so bad, but they do get better.
I think, honestly, I think what made the TV show is the actors they chose for Magnus and Alec.
Yeah, they're the best. They're exactly what I wanted.
Oh,
they're so cute. And it was really cool too reading the book and seeing how Cassandra Clare intended their mannerisms to be and the way they interacted and like all these different situations, and then seeing the TV version of them at the same time. I was like, because I would look up from the book when they came on screen because I was like, we're really living into this. And those actors portrayed it so well, where like Alec was the timid boyfriend who was like a little less comfortable like grabbing a hold of Magnus or kissing in public and like just a little bit more reserved, and then Magnus was just so outgoing and quirky and so quick with his wit.
yeah.
And it carried over so well to the TV show. They're so cute.
Matthew Dario, when you look at him, he's just so awkward. Like he kind of just embodies Alec. And then Harry Shum Jr., who plays Magnus, I remember seeing him on shows as a kid, like on Disney shows, I think he was in. Wasn't he?
Something like that, yeah.
Let's find out what he was in. Oh, he was in Glee.
Okay, yeah.
Did you watch Glee?
Not all of it, no, but I survived through that area of time and was not exposed to it.
Good for you. I loved Glee growing up.
You know who loved Glee? My dad. I'm pretty sure it's one of his top TV shows of all time.
Helen liked Glee?
Yeah. He's seen all of it.
I
Probably more
should
than
talk
once.
to Alan about Glee.
He can definitely hold a conversation with you about it. Dad's top tier ally for all this stuff. I don't know what to tell you.
Dude, Alan has the best lore.
Dad listens to this.
Alan, if you're listening, I would like to have a conversation with you about Glee. But I remember seeing him in like all of those TV shows and stuff and just loving him. He's such a positive energy around him no matter what he's playing.
Yeah.
But he just nailed Magnus. Like the makeup, like he had all of the sparkly eyeliner and
The
all of those
confidence.
things. The cat eyes was his big thing. His confidence, like you're saying, is unmatched. And that's who Magnus is. But he's kind of got this depth to him.
Yeah.
And Alec just contrasted that so good.
I know they're the perfect opposites attract. And then complement each other in a way that makes both of them be challenged and uncomfortable. And like Magnus is like, yeah, okay, maybe like I shouldn't force my boyfriend to do this thing that he maybe like doesn't want to do. And then Alex like, no, I should really step out of my comfort zone and like try this thing that Magnus is really into. And like the hot air balloon debacle in the first little bit was so funny.
I know. It was so funny. I just had a moment. I see the parallels with Bran and Nico as
Yeah.
we're talking about it. I hate it, but I see it.
Don't you?
But okay.
That's because it's one of the best romance tropes, though. It's one of the most entertaining ones to watch.
Well, it's that secure avoidant.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about attachment styles in the past, but it is so common for the anxious and the secure to get together. And in those, when we look at avoidant attachment styles, I feel like they have the most negative connotation to it because avoidants are the most annoying type of attachment style, right? It's the people who are flaky, it's the people who don't follow through on the things that they say that they're going to do. But avoidants also have such an interesting depth to them because there's always such an interesting reason why they're avoidant. When you have somebody who really understands the avoidant, that's when I feel like things change for them.
Yes. When you finally have someone who knows where to push and where to leave things be, or have a conversation.
Because that's where Magnus is for Alec, because Alec is avoidant. Whenever we talk about these avoidant types, I always empathize with the avoidant because that is where I naturally fall on that attachment style. I always get really choked up or I start to feel a lot of things when the secure part of them just does something that is so supportive to that avoidant, but they only know to do it because they understand that person to such an incredible depth that they know exactly what to do in those scenarios.
Spoiler, we filmed these in weird orders. But if you listen to our episode in 2 weeks, Haylee is going to talk about a gift thing. And it goes back to that, where it's like having someone give you the gift that you know is what you would want the most without you having to ask for it. That is my dream, to have a partner who knows what to buy me without me having to give them a list.
Yes.
Like, I want Christmas to be a surprise. It's not going to be like, here's the 5 things you told me you enjoyed. Like, you should know me well enough to pick 5 things.
We have talked about this before where I don't want to have a conversation about every single little thing in a relationship about what I want, what I need. I want somebody to understand me to that level. For example, somebody gave me a compliment the other day. I think at a time I needed some reassurance about the fact that I was being like super weird in the scenario and I was getting really nerdy. And they said the most simplest thing. They just said, like, I love how nerdy you are, and the more in depth that nerdiness gets, the more I love it.
Yeah.
And
Which
I
is all
was like,
anyone wants to hear.
right? But it was also like this moment where it's like that person just knew I needed the reassurance that the way that I was acting was good for them and they enjoyed that, and they just like kind of knew that I needed that little sense of reassurance to continue the conversation. And we didn't talk about it after. We didn't say like, wow, that was such a great thing that you did for me and that communication was excellent. They just said it and moved on, and it made me feel more secure in that relationship. That's where I find that my avoidance, calms itself down a little bit.
Yeah, when they can make you feel more secure in yourself and the relationship on their end.
Yeah.
Which is, it's the work people have to be able to put into a relationship. Yeah. And that work is always going to be different depending on what relationship you're in.
Yeah. And that's why Alec and Magnus are so perfect.
So perfect.
And it's so annoying that now I'm growing on this God of Fury thing because I'm like, yeah, fuck, they were good too.
It's all gonna come back to
I
me out of
still
theory.
hate romance.
Yeah, allegedly. Okay, I'm gonna start giving you some unclear ones. We'll see where that goes. All right. Do we want to dive into spoilers?
Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm also saying the fanfic portion of this that is R-rated is on this end of the podcast. I'm gonna put that spoiler warning here too, just in case you really wanted to go read that. It's also called The Mortal Instruments, and you're gonna have to
I was gonna say,
hunt through the internet to find that. I think it took me a hot second to find a version of that I could actually see. So I'm not going to promote that in any way, shape, or form. I'm not giving you a link for that. If you want to dive into that world, you are going to look for yourself.
you have to search for it, because I also understand why the author doesn't want you to be able to find it.
Yeah. Also, Cassandra Clare takes this thing down every opportunity she has, and that is valid. And you know what? We all make mistakes. We all do some weird things in our. I would hate for someone to find my Reddit that I've had for like the past 20 years at this point, or like my old computer. Like, there's sketchy things on there that no one needs to read.
Haylee needs to read them now. Haylee would like access to that.
That is not happening. We're not bashing Cassandra for this. We understand that, like, that was a long time ago and things change.
You know what? I actually, like, I would even hesitate to call it a mistake, because sometimes stuff just sparks a story. Like,
That's true.
I don't know that this is necessarily something that I would bash her for basing it off of in general. Now, just to be clear, I hated reading this. I feel like a worse human because of it, and I wish that I could cleanse the part of my brain that holds this fan fiction in it. With that being said, what it resulted in, I'm happy about. And sometimes stuff just like sparks a story in you, because that happens for me too. I don't write a lot, but sometimes I'll write, or like sometimes a story will form in my head where I'm like, "Oh, that's interesting. Let's see where this goes." And I'll sit down and journal for a while about it. But the origin of some of those stories, I wouldn't want to see the light of day either.
Yeah.
Now, should she have vocalized it or shared where she got it from? Probably. Did she write this fan fiction?
What do you mean?
Like, she didn't write the fan fiction that is based off.
No, she wrote it.
Oh.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Forget about everything I just said.
No, that is her fanfic.
Cassandra. How old was she when she wrote it?
I do not know. How old? You Google how old she is now. I'll find the fanfic and see when it was published.
Okay, she's 50 years old.
I'm gonna say a lot older than she should have been.
Yeah, we were trying to help her case, and now we're making it worse.
Yeah, Cassandra's story was posted April 26th of 2004. I found this on fanlore.org.
So she was over 30 years of age at that point.
Yeah, not something I do now, personally, but you know what? You created an empire, and I respect that.
I will stand by. Sometimes a story just sparks in your head.
Yeah, it lives in that world of it does no harm to anyone, except for those of us that create podcasts around these kinds of things and have to read them.
Yeah, it definitely did some harm to me.
But in a general sense, you choose to read this. You could have stopped at any point, except for you can't. But like regular people can.
I couldn't look away. I just wanted it to be over. You said that you made notes on this too, which is insane to me, because I would not have been able to finish it had I stopped to make notes.
Oh yeah, I made notes. I did Google searches while reading it. I'm going to link this back to Harry Potter, and then we're going to link this forward into Mortal Instruments.
Great.
But we're going to have to see the origin. We're going to step 1, then step 2.
Oh my god. Okay.
So step 1. So it's mentioned that like Lupin gives them homework over the summer vacation, because this is over the summer break between years. And I was like, okay, cool. If we're living with book lore, that's between books 3 and 4, because he is Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher in book 3, but not book 4.
Right. Yes. Correct.
So then my brain was like, that would make Ron 14.
No!
Because he's born in March.
Daria!
And Ginny would be 12, 13 because she's born in August. So she would be 12 at the beginning of this and 13 at the end of it. Wait.
The way that I hate you right now.
This changes, though. So this is all I really looked at. And then in this fanfic, too, Harry and Hermione are having some like weird fling over the summer, and then they end their thing, and then it's whatever. But then they mentioned like going back to school, and then it was the last year. So actually, Ron's 18 and Ginny's 17. But at, until the end of the book, I was like, holy, or the end of the fic, I was like, holy shit, they're so young.
Oh my god. Okay, so confirmed they were not 13 and 14.
They were not 13 and 14. They were 17, 18.
Okay, so Lupin must have just, in this world,
He just stayed defense against the
he
dark
was,
teacher.
yeah, okay.
But at first it gave me a heart attack because I was like, no, he is defense against the dark arts teacher way too early in this series for this to be what's happening at this age.
Well, like, are we trying to make this better? Like, I don't, like, thank God they're not that age.
This was just the rabbit hole my brain went down the second I started reading this, because I'm a dark romance reader and I do a lot of weird math in my life to
justify the shit that you read.
Yeah, I don't read a lot of age gap though, for the record. I just like to know how old people are, because I'm getting old and I like it when they're around my age. It's much more comforting.
Yeah, and there's a whole rule set with age gap too that we could go down that rabbit hole. Yeah. But let's get this over with first, please.
So these were my notes from reading it, because I got really stuck on how old they were, and then I spent way too much time like figuring out when Ron's birthday was and when Ginny's birthday was, and then what year they were in. This was happening.
I just wanted it to be over.
And for the record, I would give this, in the chilly world, solid for taboo, a 4. Content wise. Like, 'cause
4 out of 5?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna ask what's worse.
You don't want to know.
No, because you don't like taboo anyways.
I'm not a big taboo reader. The only taboo book above me, or the only one I would qualify, there's 2 that I qualify as taboo for very different reasons. Little Strangers taboo, adopted siblings. That Sick Love is taboo, but in a very different way, and it's more religion based.
I'm not even upset that I don't have more to add to this conversation right now.
Yeah. I don't really do age gap taboo very often, and if I do, it's like they're 25 and the other person's older and whatever.
Yeah.
No tolerance for cheating. I read Hawk. I understand why people like it. Not my thing.
I don't really know what the trope is for cheating. Like, I don't know what that looks like, but I don't think that would be my worst one.
It's, in the case of Hawk, spoilers for Hawk, if you plan on reading that, by Jessie Hall, but her fiance, is an absolute piece of shit. Mm-hmm. And then Hawk moves into the house that they're in, because he technically owns it, but he's been in prison for the past bit for a crime he didn't commit. And then her and Hawk have like a really big connection, and they start fucking and like fall in love. But she's afraid of crazy boyfriend.
Right.
Like, I understand why people like the book, and Hawk is fucking adorable. The cheating thing, though,
yeah,
I've been cheated on enough times, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Just end the relationship, run away together, don't do it.
Yeah.
We'll take this to step 2. Or do you want to talk
about let's just move on. Okay. Let's take it to step 2. Let's continue.
Step 2, also what I wrote down on this is the fanfic itself is called Mortal Instruments. And the premise behind the fanfic is that, like, Ginny's using Ron to gain confidence so that she can fully, I don't know, do shit with Harry in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
It's a 19-page fic. It doesn't make sense.
Yes. Yeah, there's no character development. The premise is that Harry and Hermione are together. Ron is upset about that because Ron and Hermione were together, and then Ginny is upset about it because Ginny and Harry used to be together,
or they're all pining after each other in some weird way.
Exactly. Something. And so they're trying to get back at each other, or trying to, like, deal with the heartbreak because their exes are together now. I'm just gonna,
Yeah. We're not explaining that further. You know what we mean when we say Ginny and Ron fanfic. It's the same thing that happens every other time it's fanfic. Anyway. But the name of it is Mortal Instruments, and I was like, kind of understand where you're going with that, where you're like using another human as an instrument of...
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So Ginny is using, okay.
Ron as an instrument of whatever that was. But I just love that she loved the title so much that she translated it over to this series and then built like a whole lore behind what Mortal Instruments were in that series.
Literally. So that's the worst part about it, is that like the original title was so shallow and so stupid, but also so gross, and then she built a whole fucking universe off of it.
Yeah. With
Absurd.
like lore and everything. And still brought the incest trope in. Because again, spoilers all through this section, Jace and Clary think
Listen,
they're
I'm sorry.
siblings.
Let me just. You haven't read the Mortal Instruments yet, and you're still listening to this.
That's on you.
Stop. That is
Yeah.
100% on you. Absolutely. She tried to bring the incest trope
Yeah.
into Immortal Instruments. Sorry, I know we're not on this step right now, but
Well, we're kind of there.
okay, great.
Yeah. I was going to dissect the title first, and we've basically done that. So she builds a whole thing around Mortal Instruments as the main point of lore in this, which she borrowed from the fanfic. Which is actually worse that you thought she didn't write it, because then you thought she plagiarized the title herself.
I didn't even remember the title of the fanfic. Dude, I dissociated so hard from this fanfic. We had the opposite reactions to this. You wrote notes and Googled.
Yeah, I got really clinical about it.
I remember basically nothing about this fanfic. I completely dissociated.
I wish I could have done that. My brain was not going to let that happen. But yeah, she brings, and then the thing that carries into this is the incest trope, which is a whole thing.
I was in love with this series, dude. When I was 13 years old, this was all I was like, wait, are they actually siblings? That's so crazy. Ew, gross, they kissed. And I was so bought in. And then they weren't. I was like, oh, that's good. And now I look back on this, and I should have stopped reading immediately.
But little old us kept going.
And not just to go further, I have reread these as an adult.
I have not reread them as an adult.
I mean, to be fair, like I know what happens now, so it makes it like if I read them as an adult for the first time and didn't know what happened, I would have stopped.
I do still watch the TV show.
Yeah.
A lot.
I mean, I guess we have to say that it was a successful incest trope.
Yeah.
In that way, because I mean it was. And they're not, just to be clear, they're not siblings. We find that out. But she milked that for, I don't know, like almost an entire book?
Yeah. Well, then Sebastian comes in too.
Yeah.
And there's weird sexual tension there.
Yes,
that
because he wanted
her brother.
Yes, because he wanted to get with her.
Yeah.
And he tried to convince her.
Yeah. Oh, we're losing Haylee real fast. But yeah, like the incest
More wine.
doesn't go away in this either, which is hilarious.
No, because she did it and she was like, don't worry, guys. They're not siblings.
Yeah.
I was just teasing.
It's fine.
And she's like, I might do it again, though.
But it went so well last time.
But that time it didn't go well because the last book of that series was really bad.
Yeah. I think my favorite part of this is like, okay, the core of that fanfic, it stayed. Realistically, like she was like, this is a gold mine right here, and it was.
Yes, because even like let's talk about the themes of this, because when Sebastian came in, he was kind of Ginny in that scenario because Clary was like no, but then Sebastian was pushing it, like he wanted them. He was weird. Oh my god, he was so weird. It's coming back to me now. I'm remembering as we're talking, and it was so bad. Oh, I finished that book. As an adult, I finished that book.
Yeah, and they were like, let's make these superhuman baby Nephilim demon things. And like, he was like really into it. And their dad was totally backing this shit up too, for the record. He was like, let's go, more experiments.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Yeah. Anyway, so this one was a real childhood ruiner for a lot of reasons, because like this series was one of the core ones. Like if you were the kid that read Twilight and Harry Potter and Percy Jackson, you probably read Mortal Instruments.
Can you dissect this series?
It gets worse and worse.
It's so messed up.
Yeah.
And the original series is the worst one out of all of it, because when she expanded on that universe, she did a good job.
I like the other books.
Like Infernal Devices, one of my favorite series of all times. And the Magnus and Alex duology, really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And even the one that comes after it isn't bad. It wasn't my favorite, but isn't bad. And then they also made The Chain of Thorns, which came out last year. also really good. And the world building just gets better and better. But that original series reads like a fan fiction.
Yeah. Which I don't mind.
No.
I had an argument on Reddit with a bunch of people, and I was like,
You had an argument on Reddit about this?
yeah, I had a huge argument on Reddit with people about fanfic. Because I was like, you read that shit for free, and then you all bitch when they get made into actual books and they get paid for their work.
100%.
And I was like, that's shitty. People will always, on like Goodreads and stuff, I hate it when people are like, this reads like Wattpad. This reads like fanfic. What does that mean? To me, a lot of fanfics are really good. Take Manacled. They're phenomenal. They're well written. They're great. I haven't actually read all of Manacled, for the record. I need to do that still.
You should. We could talk about Manacled because that's one of my favorites.
But like, they deserve to be paid for that. That is a ton of work, and so many people consume it. And then they got a
They just got a deal.
And people are like, no.
I know.
They're so unsupportive of it. And I was like, that's so shitty.
Well, and one of the weird things about this is that people don't bash it until they know. Because let's be real, the amount of people that actually know that Senlin Yu got a publishing deal is very small comparatively. We know a lot of people who know about it because we're in that side of the internet.
Yeah.
With that being said, when that book comes out, how many people are actually going to know where it originated from? Not many. I have loved Mortal Instruments for the past, I don't know, 10 to 12 years, and I didn't know until last week that this was based on a fan fiction. Same thing with 50 Shades of Grey. I didn't know that was Twilight fan fiction.
Oh, yeah.
You read them, you love them, and then you find out that they're part of a fan fiction, and all of a sudden you just are going to bash that side of the internet. Are you kidding me?
Copyright is a thing, and it should always be respected. You should not be plagiarizing. But that doesn't mean you can't be inspired.
Well, that's the thing, and that's part of the reason that you can't buy and sell fan fiction is because it's technically copyright. You're using the same characters in the same story.
Yeah, the IP is owned, and it should be. For
Yes.
the record, I'm not advocating for taking over that stuff as an artist.
When I think about the people who are writing them, because when we found these types of fan fictions, like we were Tumblr girls.
Yeah.
We were on Tumblr, we were on Wattpad, we were on AO3, and those types of things. I am a really big advocate for creativity in kids. And yes, there are some R-rated things on these apps. Absolutely, there is maybe a different argument to be had about what kids should be reading in terms of those types of things. However, let's talk about a kid reads a story and they get so inspired and so excited about creating their own story from that story. You're telling me that that creativity isn't an amazing thing for them?
And totally valid. And it's a starting point. And if you can create, and then one day you're like, I'm going to use that creativity to build something that's mine.
Yes.
But obviously heavily inspired, because let's be real, there's very minimal original ideas in this world.
It doesn't happen anymore. You look at any high fantasy, 90% of that is coming from J.R.R. Tolkien.
Yeah, and it's all derivatives of that, and why not?
Well, that's the thing. Like, the market in everything is so saturated right now, so you're not coming up with crazy original ideas. The fact that we can still have new things based on previous things that is how we grow as humans, is that we take things that we've seen and things that we know and we make them better. And that is exactly what's happening with fan fiction. The difference is it's not edited, so you have to take that with a grain of salt because there's going to be spelling mistakes, there's going to be grammar mistakes, those types of things. It's not going to be maybe as short as it should be because you're not taking out all the fluff that doesn't matter. But that is the beauty in fan fiction, is that you're taking something and you see somebody who has created this story in their head and you get to experience that with them. Like, to me, that is so special.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I never dove deep into the world of fan fiction. Like, I was pretty surface level with a lot of it.
Me too.
I still, to this day, like, anytime someone's like, they started writing fanfic and they got to go mainstream and get a publisher and everything, that's awesome.
Right?
As they should.
So, I don't know. I think the creativity is a positive. I think that it gives people an outlet to be their weird selves and to,
imagine a world that's a little different than what the rest of us do.
Are we about to get really into fan fiction in the next little while?
We might have to.
we're about to get into fan fiction.
For the record, I arc read for Wattpad Publishing on occasion, and that has actually been I've really enjoyed the stuff they've sent me.
Great.
There's been some of the better arcs I've read, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
They've been way more entertaining than some of the other shit people send me.
Oh my god. So that Get Swapped took a turn.
Yeah, that went places we weren't really expecting.
Honestly, that's what I expected out of this.
Yeah. Because at first, because we usually Get Swapped, we pick something we know the other person's probably not going to, like, absolutely love. But it's outside their comfort zone.
Yeah, I knew that you would love it. I was excited for you to get back into the young adult fantasy scene, and that really backfired on me.
Yeah, I really did. Little dark me took that and did what I do to things and made it real fucking twisted real fast.
I was like, I am gonna make Daria have this innocent little experience with two of her favorite characters ever. And she was like, did you know that this was based off of a fan fiction of Ginny and Ron? Screw you.
It's my superpower. It really is. I did go thrift them, though. I don't know if you noticed that. I did go thrift them last weekend because I was like, you know what? These should be on the shelf now. And they're on the dark romance side of the shelf. World is welcome.
They're on the dark romance side now.
They're going to stay here.
You know what? At this point, over all of the things that I've learned in the last 2 weeks, they're dark romance. Like, there's no going back.
Granted, don't get me wrong. I believe there should be a firm line between taboo and dark romance. Not the same thing. But these ones are also kind of fucking twisted, so they're sitting in the dark romance world too. Because I think it takes a step past taboo.
They deserve to be in the dark romance.
Yeah, I had a fun time with that.
I don't really know what to say at the end of this. Check us out on social media. We're there. We might get into fan fiction now. I don't know.
Yeah, I have a dream of doing a bunch of this is what the fanfic was, this is what the book was.
Yeah, we could do that.
I think we should do that. That might be July's project. Anyway, we should wrap this up because this episode's getting long and it went places we didn't expect for sure. If you want to follow us, you can find me on Instagram, Goodreads, and TikTok as Daria Can Read.
And I am Haylee Johnson with a fancy little underscore at the end, all on the same platforms.
And give us a like, give us a follow.
Means a lot. Thank you, everyone. See y'all later.